Magic makers, I have another one of my fabulous clients that I want to introduce you to. Her name is Miss Lucy Patterson. And what I love about her is that we met in a Facebook group. I don't even know how long ago. Maybe, I don't even know. Do you know?
Three, possibly 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We had a pandemic for 2. So.
Well, and then I know, like pandemic times, like I feel like it just like collapsed the last 2 years.
It doesn't count.
Yeah. So we met in a Facebook group way back in the day, and then we just, or just kept in touch. And then or right before the pandemic, I ran a challenge. Lucy joined, and then she continued on into my membership. And so I really love how I just like the internet works.
Isn't it great? It's opened up so many possibilities.
Right. Like Lucy lives in, I'm going to say London, but it's the UK. So us ugly Americans, if it's not London, you might as well live in Russia.
You might know Durham. Okay. I'm in Durham.
Okay. All right.
Lovely cathedral, lovely castle.
You know how I know Durham? From the Shopaholic series.
Okay. Sophie Kinsella has a lot to answer for, obviously.
I've read all her books, and all of them happened in Durham. So I know Durham from that. Thank you, Sophie Kinsella. So, you'd seen my stuff for a while. We've have a personal relationship. Actually, we were supposed to meet, and then I think it was right before Rona we were supposed to meet.
It was about 2 weeks or so before everywhere went into lockdown, and I was out at Patterson University doing a business growth course, and everything just got turned up on its head at the last minute, and everything got changed, and we didn't get to meet, and it felt like so close, but no cigar, no Kim.
I know, and I do. There's so many of you that I've met in Jade's group that I'm like, we all need to like come and have like a big like, oh my God, I know you forever online. Yeah. So, you see me forever. We've had a personal relationship. What made you decide, you know what, I'm ready. This is the time.
I think it was a mix of things, is that certain things had aligned here, and I'm a business strategist, and I sort of work within design thinking principles as a day job. And it felt as though my own health was the last part of everything that I was dealing with, that I was actually applying those kind of principles to. And I could see that you were doing that. And I liked your energy. I'll be very honest, it was an energy thing. It was the fact that I could, even for however far apart we are, I don't know what the miles are between Durham and Boston, but it felt as though if I wasn't going to commit to this and be accountable to myself, there's every chance Kim's going to land on the front door and kick my ass.
I laugh because so many people say that. Like I still teach classes in person, and if I haven't seen you in a while, I'm like, hey, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while. And like, work. And I'm like, don't make me come upstairs. And they're like, we kind of think you would.
Yeah.
And I do. Most people want the accountability. So it's like, if I don't hear from you in a few weeks, or I don't see you on Facebook, I'm gonna shoot you a DM and be like, what's up? Because I don't want you to think you're still in my brain. And like, I always scan, I'm like, hey, where's she been?
Yeah, that's what I need. That's what I like. And I think the other thing was, I see so many kind of health gurus, if you like, who very much are just kind of, right, you need to cut calories back to 1,000 a day. You need to just increase your intensity of workouts. You need to do this. And I kind of reached a certain age, let's not go there, but I reached a certain age and things just seemed to start to go wrong. And I almost needed somebody who gave me the space to have a process of elimination, kind of try things, see what worked for me, get the balance right, so I could kind of build certain habits.
Yes.
Rather than going all in and failing at something again.
Right.
And I think that was the sort of the next thing, definitely the energy, the accountability, and the space to form habits.
Yeah. And I think you're right. For a long time, if you worked with me 10 years ago, I'd be like, why can't you just cut your calories and go to the gym? And now I realize, like, you're a business owner. And so we both are like, we plan our day, and then all of a sudden, something happens. And so I wanted to give clients that space for that day that like something happened, and you are able to be like, you know what, something happened today, but tomorrow's a different day, and not beat yourself up and say, oh, I got to run off and find something else now.
Yeah, that was definitely a big part of it for me. It just seemed to be a different kind of attitude, full stop, to a lot of other people that I was kind of seeing out there.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. And so what do we kind of touched on this, like the thing that you liked best about me was that I gave you the flexibility. I was like, here are the possibilities. Pick what's going to work for you right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. It was not something that was prescriptive. It was something that allowed me to take ownership.
Right.
And I think that's the important thing about accountability. It's not about having somebody to be accountable to. It's about being accountable to yourself.
Right. And I really like that.
I think that's what worked.
I really like that whole ownership thing. Because I remember when I first started, I had a personal trainer, and his words to me were like, I want you to outgrow me. And I was like, interesting. And now, full circle 20 years later, I'm like, yeah, I want my clients to outgrow me, because I've had grown women text me when I used to do meal plans, Kim, I can't find a kiwi at the grocery store. A gooseberry for you. I can't find the grocery store. And I'm like, it's fruit, buy anything. And I was like, I'm making them dependent on me to make the most basic decision. Mm-hmm. That they can't decide between a kiwi and anything else in the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, over the time, I'm like, I can't be the person who is their guide. I need to be the person who's like, here's the menu. How is it going to work for you today?
I think that's the thing that's missing from a lot of coaches, if I'm honest, mm-hmm. is that they do kind of still prescribe to people. Yep. And it's kind of as though they want that person to remain reliant upon them. And I've never got that feeling from you. It's always been, well, here's the tools. Here's how you use the tools. I'll handhold for a while, and then I'll slowly back off.
Right.
And you're going to be kind of capable of planning a meal on your own, of deciding, this has happened today, what do I do to counteract it? Because you're kind of providing us with the tools rather than telling us in the moment.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and I always feel like you have the tools, and it's kind of like you're in the kitchen and you're trying to make dinner, and you're like, well, I only got 5 ingredients. What can I do? Right. Mm-hmm. And that's like, and you don't have to be Iron Chef and like whip up something to, win a thing. You're like, I just need something that's going to put some food in my belly. And so if I like keep it as simple as possible, because our lives are complicated. I'm not even going to talk about the fact that like, did you wear your mask today and wash your hands, but just all the moving parts of life. Like, why does food have to be complicated? Because we've all done complicated. And how long did that last?
Well, I can probably name you quite a few complicated things I tried over the years.
Oh my God. When people tell, like, I try to like stay under the radar when people don't know me, and eventually someone will say, oh, well, Kim does this. And then all of a sudden I get this diatribe of like all the things that they're either eating or working out. And I was like, can I just have a cocktail at this party?
Yeah.
And yes, I drink alcohol from time to time.
But that's the point. You're human, and that comes across. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I can't honestly imagine even sitting and having a conversation with another kind of health professional in this same way, to be able to say to you, well, actually, I had a cream cake yesterday, or, but just to know that balance is there, and that unless it steps beyond a certain point, you're not, you're going to be supportive of me.
Right. Or if you had a cream cake, I'm like, was it good? If you lived near me, should I get it? that would be the question. Because life would be boring if I didn't have time to have food. Like, think about how many times you restricted yourself from the fun foods, and it was just like a tsunami when you allowed yourself to have something.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. It really just isn't. And it's taken me, 46 years on this planet to realize that, but it's finally sort of stuck.
Oh yeah, I literally did that like binge restrict cycle for a good like 10, 15 years. And then, you get to the point where you're just like, I can't pick up the pieces anymore.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to anymore. As I say, I kind of hit that certain age. Yeah. And so many other things came into play that it was like, right, this is the last area of my life that I need to take responsibility for. Let's do this.
And what I loved what you said earlier is that, like, you are a strategist, and you're like, oh, so there's a strategy to weight loss? And I'm like, most people just think that it's just like this nebulous thing. There is a strategy. And there's a Lucy strategy, there's a Kim strategy. And you're going to work at your pace, I'm going to work at my pace, Sally's going to work at her pace. And it's just all a matter of you owning that, you know what, I don't have to go fast. Like, I don't have to lose 30 pounds in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we had a conversation, it was must be 4 or 5 or 6 months back now. And I was kind of looking at working out the calories I needed to have, what the deficit would, you know, and kind of looking at, well, how long will it take me to reach this particular weight loss goal? And I remember you saying sort of forget even about the numbers on the scales, you know, go by your patterns, go by how you're feeling, go by so many different things. And that was kind of that light bulb moment for me, I think, is that I'd always been so focused in on what the scales said, when in actual fact, I should be more focused about, could I run for a bus? Could I, you know, walk a particular distance for a fundraiser or whatever? And that's kind of where I am now. I feel as though this sort of past year of working with you, I've just been able to not feel the pressure about the actual weight loss itself, as crazy as that might sound. And I've actually just been able to build in different habits and different routines. So I've been able to trial things, see what works for me, see how something fits best in my day, look more at my mobility first, just sort of moving about, and then move from that into, you know, the food that I'm eating and what I'm actually putting in my body that satiates me properly. And then being able to move towards additional exercise and that kind of all coming together to the weight loss. Whereas previously I would have just been kind of blinkers on and just focused on those numbers, and it's exhausting if nothing else.
It's so exhausting. I just think about all the like mind cycles that I had, and every woman has, about weight and food and exercise. We probably could cure a bunch of cancers and corona if we apply. Exactly. We could probably figure out about all the refugees, where to put them, if we just stop thinking so much about food. And I love that, because like, you like to garden, and you remind me of another client of mine, Kathy. And like, Kathy was like, I can like go in my garden now and like pull up like, you know, stubs. She's out there, like, her garden is pretty intense, but she's like pulling up, you know, those like weeds that become like kind of mini trees. And she's like, I'm pulling them up with my bare hands now. And I'm like, oh my God, Kathy. I'm like, be careful. But, you know, like, you have the stamina to get out there and garden or squat down and put bulbs in, like, that's acts of daily living versus the scale. The scale's not gonna be like, hey, bend down and put in bulbs. Like, it's never going to tell you that.
Yeah, you need to put in 50 bulbs this hour if you want to lose a pound in the next week.
Right. And then, like, you know, people get caught up in that, you know. So, you know, for us in America, Thanksgiving is coming up and the holidays are coming up. And I see, you know, and you see them too, if you have this much turkey, then you got to go and do this kind of exercise for this amount of time. If you have this much of whatever, and then people get so caught up in that. And I'm just like, good Lord, like, that's exhausting.
Yeah. It's mentally and physically draining. Obviously, you don't have the physical strength because you're limiting your body so much, it's not getting what it needs. But then it is that mental drain that just adds to everything and impacts then every other area of your life. Like, whenever I've tried to lose weight before, it's always had an impact on other areas of my life, because I don't go out with the girls as often, because I don't want to sort of be worrying about the calories that are in a cocktail or whatever. You know, you don't realize until you have that different approach, so that light bulb moment that just took me a bit further forward.
Right. No, and I think that's what most people feel, because it's like, you either are social or you're not. And it's like, you know, it's more, I always say it's like a light switch. Like, most people think, I'm dieting, so like everything else goes to the wayside. Like, I can't go out. I can't go out with my sweetie. I can't do anything. I'm here with my, you know, whatever gruel that I tell myself I can eat, and water, and like misery.
Yeah. Chicken and lettuce leaves seems seem to be the bane of, you know, anybody's life, and not being able to sort of add a little bit of dressing or anything to it. But no, I'm beyond that now. I'm kind of working so much better with the food that I have, and, you know, just knowing kind of what to adapt and what my plate should look like, and that kind of thing.
And, you know, have you I don't think you've ever talked about this. So I'm going to ask, like, were you ever in that kind of, I need to be perfect place?
You know, I don't think I've never been that,
Mm-hmm.
because I've always been kind of, originally I was really, really sporty. I was on netball and athletics teams for the county. And it was just sort of something happened. I'm hoping this is, I've
Life,
kind of got boobs and a butt
right.
to
Your
start with.
life
Then
happened.
life got in the way. And these kind of things just sort of dropped off. So I've never been the girl who wanted to be perfect, because I've always been the girl who would try and have a bit of fun and do something. But there comes a point where I could no longer try because I was over a weight limit. I could no longer do something because I just didn't have the capacity. And that in itself is, it's stone cold sobering. It's just not a pleasant thought. And I've got godchildren now, you know, that I want to be able to run around and have fun with. It wasn't going to happen previously.
Yeah, no, you know, again, like, I feel like that I always ask people what their why is. And that's such a motivator. You know, one, you like to be out in the garden. And two, like, keeping up with kids. Good Lord, they're exhausting if you have no energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, honestly, thank goodness we only sort of see them every now and again. They live in Suffolk, we're in Durham. So we kind of see them about a quarter of the year maybe. And I spend the rest of the 3/4 of the year recovering.
Yes. And you're just like, if you could just like plug into them just to get a little bit of their energy.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, if someone's listening to this call and they're like, well, why would I work with Kim?
Because you're honest, because you don't take any prisoners, but because you do it in a way that is accepting of somebody actually living a life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, we only get one turnaround this cycle. And, you know, I spent it too many years dieting, and I lost fun. And I look back at myself and I'm like, oh God, well, how do I still have friends? When I was in my hardcore diet phase. And, you know, I always feel like, you know, especially women like yourself, like, we have to figure it out. Like, I think it was my business that helped me kind of start to think about strategy, right? I was like, and I never really thought of it as a strategy until, you know, I was talking with another business person, like, well, Kim, it's a strategy. And I'm like, hang on, it is.
Yeah. And so there's probably another reason, as I say, we said sort of previously, why I chose you, because it did fit to my kind of business mindset. I could see the process I would go through in a business. And so therefore it fit that I would go through that in my life. It was easy to apply to me.
Right. Exactly. So Lisa, I mean, I've just enjoyed like getting to know you in the, you know, in the membership, but also just the fact that we've been able to take our relationship to a different level. And so if anyone is listening and they're like, she's a business strategist, where do I find her? And how do I find out more information about her?
You can look me up across most platforms, Lucy Flourish Unlimited. You can go to the website flourishunlimited.co.uk, because we are across the pond. But you can find all the information you need there if anybody's interested in business strategy or design thinking practicing. That's me. That's what I do.
Awesome. And she also posts some fun stuff from time to time.
Only occasionally. It's been known occasionally.
So she also has a good sense of humor. So Lucy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
No problem, Kim. I'm happy to be here. It's lovely to spend a few minutes out of my day.